I'm going to show you how to make that beat with just Ableton Live Lite devices and a free sample pack. Let's go ahead and get into it. This is the sample pack in question. It's this Beats by Trav 2K drum kit plus one shots. It's a great free sample pack, and I'm going to go ahead and have that in the link in the description. We're going to go ahead and start this beat with an instance of Simpler and this Space Bell sample. You can find this in the one shots and then bells section of this sample pack. If I play that on the keyboard, we'll now have this. I want to make this so that when I press a note, it just plays the whole sample. So I'm going to turn the release all the way up so that way I don't have to hold the notes. Now, if I make a MIDI clip by highlighting an area, clicking Insert MIDI Clip, or doing Shift Command M or Shift Control M on PC, it's going to make a MIDI clip. Before we get started, I'm going to bump this up to 160 BPM, and let's go ahead and hop into this MIDI clip. If we come over here, we have this scale option. I'm going to go ahead and select F sharp minor, and that's going to be the key we're writing the song in. Now, if I click this scale button up here, it's going to make it so we only see the notes in that scale. So let's go ahead and write a melody out. I feel like this could be a catchy melody, so we're going to go ahead and take that, highlight it, and duplicate it over. So we have a pretty decent melody going there. Let's go ahead and move on and write some chords out. I'm going to use this falling pad sample as our next sound here. And let me just go ahead and open up another MIDI clip and write some chords out. So these are the chords laid out. Let's go ahead and make this sound a little bit nicer. The main way I'm going to do this is with some built-in Ableton plugins. Let's go ahead and start by putting a reverb on here. And I'm going to turn the dry wet down just so it's not super wet sounding. 40% should be good. And we'll turn the decay time up to about 2 seconds. Somewhere around there should be fine. Other than that, we're going to leave it. So let's hear how that sounds. Something you may also want to do is turn this quality up to high. It's going to give it a higher quality sound, but it is going to use more CPU, so just keep that in mind depending on how strong your computer is. After that, I'm going to go ahead and put an EQ on here just so we can clean it up a little bit, because I know when our bass comes in, it's going to get a little bit muddy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and pick this low cut, and I'm going to low cut it at about 100, and then we're going to go ahead and just leave it like that for now. So now that we have those sounds out of the way, I think we can go ahead and start adding some drums in. Really, a lot of times with these beats, you're going to want to keep them simple so that the rapper will have a place to fit in them. So let's go ahead and find some samples. I'm going to use a clap. This go-to clap sounds pretty good, so we'll go ahead and use that. Now, I like doing my drums on the grid here. However, if you wanted to, you could use a drum rack for this, but I'm just going to do it on the grid like so. So we'll take that, duplicate it, and all we're doing is making it so it hits in between every measure, so it's exactly in the middle between the 1 and the 2 on this 1.3, 2.3, 3.3, and 4.3. I'm going to go ahead and turn down the clap a little bit because I know the sample is going to hit a little bit harder than the pad and the bell. So let's go ahead and hear how that sounds. Next, let's go ahead and add some hi-hats. Well, the way we're going to do this, again, is Simpler. So let's go ahead and drag on Simpler. And the sample I'm going to use is this hi-hat right here. So we'll drag it in, create a MIDI clip. And I'm thinking for this one, we'll go ahead and start out by turning the grid to eighth notes. We're going to turn scale mode off. and just find C3 so that it's the original pitch of the sample. Any other note will either raise or lower the pitch, so we'll keep it at C3 for now. And all I'm gonna do is click, hold Alt or Option, depending on if you're a Mac or PC, and then drag, and it's gonna make it go all the way to the end like that. So this is just kind of the start of our pattern. To spice it up a little bit, I'm gonna take some 16th notes, and every time the clap hits, I'm gonna put some 16th note hits, so we know that's at the 0.3. And then what I'm gonna do is on the second time around every time, I'm gonna add 2 more 16th note hits. So it's gonna look like that. From here, we're gonna go ahead and add the 808. This one personally is my favorite of the pack, this Free Will 808. So again, we're gonna take another simpler and drag in the Free Will 808. Now, something I like to do with my 808s, just to make sure they're in tune, is drag a tuner on here and hit a C note, and just make sure that it's sitting around a C. Because this one is constantly changing pitch, though, it's going to be a little bit harder, but this one does seem to be in tune, so we'll go ahead and just keep it as is. So now what I can do is I can take my MIDI from the pad, and if I Control or Command C and Control or Command V down to this track, we'll have the MIDI from our chords. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the root note for every chord. Now the root note of this chord is actually going to be these F sharp right below, so I'll go ahead and just move that down. But other than that, we can just delete all these top notes. And this will already sound like we're hitting the right note. We're just going to have to lay out a pattern. This is what it'll sound like. Now, before we get into laying out the rhythm of the 808, all I'm gonna do is come down here on our simpler for the 808 and make this a one shot. Now, what this is gonna do is gonna make it so every time I press a note, the whole sample is gonna play the whole way through. This makes it so when we click in our notes with the draw tool, it's gonna be a lot quicker and easier to get our beat laid out. Rather than having to drag out the notes, we can just click it in and leave it. Now, to get to that draw tool, you can either press B on your keyboard, or you can come in here, right click, and choose it in this drop down menu. So I'm going to go ahead and just lay out the 808. I'm just going to let the beat play as I'm laying it out, and you can kind of just follow my lead. So now that we have that laid out, I want to go to the mixer and just kind of mix things a little bit. That pad is a little too loud, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that down. And then I think I'm going to try and turn this bass up so we can have it hitting a little bit harder. In Simpler, there's a volume control. So if I just click that and set that to 0, this is going to hit a lot harder now. Go ahead and add in a kick, and then I think I'm going to try and spice up that melody just a little bit more to see if we can make it a little bit more interesting. So let's go ahead and find a kick here. I personally like this kick, so I'm going to go ahead and use that one. So I'm going to go ahead and just lay out this kick. Now we'll go back to the mixer and see how that's sounding. Let's see how we can make this bell sound more interesting. What I'm going to try and do to make this more interesting is come over here, right click it, and click freeze track. What that's going to do is it's going to make it so it turns this light blue color, and we can't edit the MIDI anymore. But if I come over here and click flatten track now, it's going to turn it into audio. Now what I can do with this audio is come over and click this little button right here and reverse it. Let's hear how that sounds. now we're dealing with something that's a little bit more of an interesting texture. I'm going to go ahead and turn it down a little bit here. And let's go ahead and put a reverb on it. Turn the dry wet down a little bit and increase the decay time. We'll set that to high quality. Let's hear how that sounds. So I think the beat is getting there, but I want to do one last thing here, which is add a saturator onto the 808. So what I'm going to do is drag it over, and this is going to distort the 808. I'm going to go ahead and click this soft clip button because I prefer that style of clipping. And let's just go ahead and play it and turn up the drive a little bit. So that's how you make a beat in Ableton Live or Lite. Now, I know a lot of people only have these versions, and I just wanted to show that you can make good beats with just those tools. The other tools do help and open up a world of possibilities, but when you're starting out, this is really all you need to get started making some nice sounding beats. If you guys enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Also, in the description down below, I do have a giveaway that I'm running. So if you're interested in winning a gift card to any music website, go ahead and click that link and enter the giveaway. It's completely free. You don't have to subscribe or anything. So definitely check that out. I hope you guys learned something in this video, and I hope you enjoy the beat that we just made. I'll catch you guys in the next one.